Sexual things happened with a friend and I feel used. What do I do? We were a group of 10, a diverse mix of personalities that somehow blended together perfectly. Among us was Alex, a close friend whose presence had been a constant source of comfort and familiarity. We had grown up together, navigating the ups and downs of adolescence side by side, and I had always felt a special connection with him. Little did I know that this trip would challenge everything I thought I knew about our friendship and leave me grappling with feelings I wasn't prepared for. The first few days of the holiday were a whirlwind of sun-soaked adventures and carefree moments. The beach was our playground, a vast expanse of golden sand and azure waves that seemed to stretch on forever. We spent our days lounging in the sun, playing impromptu games of beach volleyball, and taking long swims in the refreshing sea. Each evening, we gathered around a crackling bonfire, roasting marshmallows and sharing stories that grew more personal with each passing night. The bond between our group felt unbreakable, and Alex and I seemed to be at the center of it all, our friendship as effortless as the gentle breeze that swept through the beach house. It was on the third night of our trip that something shifted between Alex and me. The group had drifted off to bed, leaving us alone on the porch of our rented beach house. The night was calm, the only sounds the rhythmic crashing of the waves and the distant calls of seabirds. We sat together, our conversation flowing easily as always, but there was a new undercurrent, a tension that I couldn't quite place. As the hours passed, our casual touches lingered a little longer, our laughter softened, and our glances grew more intense. It was as if the universe had conspired to bring us to this moment, where the line between friendship and something more began to blur. The conversation shifted from lighthearted banter to deeper, more intimate topics. We talked about our dreams, our fears, and the things that kept us awake at night. There was a vulnerability in his eyes, a depth that I hadn't seen before, and it made my heart race in a way that was both thrilling and terrifying. Without fully realizing how it happened, we found ourselves leaning closer, our lips meeting in a kiss that felt both exhilarating and profoundly right. That night, everything changed. We explored new boundaries, our connection deepening in ways I hadn't anticipated. It was a moment of pure, unfiltered emotion, where our friendship transformed into something more passionate and intimate. The next morning, I woke up beside Alex, feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension. I glanced over at him, still asleep, and a smile tugged at my lips. The night before had been incredible, but as I lay there, a knot of worrying tightened in my stomach. What did this mean for us? Would this bring us closer, or would it complicate our friendship in ways we couldn't predict? As Alex stirred and opened his eyes, his sleepy smile seemed to reassure me that everything would be okay. We spent the day together, our connection now undeniable, and I allowed myself to bask in the warmth of his presence. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the beach, Alex and I once again found ourselves alone. The night was filled with a similar intensity, a continuation of the connection we had shared the previous night. We didn't talk much about what was happening between us. Instead, we let our actions speak for themselves. Our interactions were charged with a newfound fervor, each touch and kiss a testament to the depth of our feelings. It was both exhilarating and overwhelming, a whirlwind of emotions that left me feeling exhilarated and uncertain in equal measure. But as the sun rose the next morning, a stark change began to set in. Alex's demeanor shifted dramatically. He became distant, avoiding eye contact and withdrawing from our interactions. The warmth that had been so evident in our previous nights together was now replaced by a cold, almost clinical distance. I tried to brush it off at first, convincing myself that it was just a temporary lapse, perhaps caused by exhaustion or the intensity of our recent experiences. However, as the day progressed, it became increasingly clear that something was amiss. That evening, as we gathered around the bonfire, I felt like an outsider in a group that had once felt like home. Alex's behavior was unmistakably cold. He was polite but distant, his interactions with me minimal. It was as though he was deliberately avoiding me, and the more I tried to reach out, the more he seemed to withdraw. The sense of betrayal and confusion gnawed at me, leaving me feeling isolated and vulnerable. Unable to bear the uncertainty any longer, I decided to confront Alex. I managed to pull him aside, away from the group, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and hope. We walked a short distance from the bonfire, the crackling firelight casting long shadows on the sand. I turned to him, trying to keep my voice steady despite the tremor in my chest. "Alex, can we talk?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He looked at me, his expression guarded. "About what?" he asked, his tone clipped. "About what happened," I began, struggling to find the right words. "About the nights we spent together. I need to understand what's going on." Alex's demeanor shifted, and I could see the defensiveness rising in him. "There's nothing to talk about," he said sharply. "You're making a big deal out of nothing." His dismissive tone felt like a punch to the gut. I took a step back, my heart sinking as I tried to process his words. "I just thought we should have a conversation," I said, my voice breaking. "I don't understand why you're acting like this." He shook his head, clearly frustrated. "I'm not ignoring you. You're just overreacting. It's not that big of a deal." The hurt in his voice was palpable, and I could feel the tears welling up in my eyes. "It's not just about what happened," I said, my voice trembling. "It's about why you're avoiding me, why everything feels so different now." He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck, and his gaze shifted away from me. "I don't want to deal with this right now. I've got enough on my mind. Just drop it." With that, he turned and walked away, leaving me standing alone on the beach, the weight of his words sinking in. The rest of the trip felt like a cruel charade. Alex continued to avoid me, and despite my best efforts to act normal, I could feel the strain in every interaction. I tried to join in the group activities, to smile and laugh with everyone else, but the sense of betrayal was overwhelming. It was like I was living in a parallel reality, where everything that had once felt so right now felt achingly wrong. As the days dragged on and the holiday came to an end, I was left with a profound sense of loss. The return to normalcy was jarring, and I found myself haunted by the unresolved tension and the unanswered questions. I reached out to Alex once more, hoping that time away from the group might allow us to have an honest conversation. My messages went unanswered, and the silence grew louder with each passing day. Desperate for some clarity, I turned to a mutual friend, hoping they could offer some insight into Alex's behavior. When I learned that Alex was deliberately avoiding me and that he didn't see me as any different from his other friends, it felt like a knife to the heart. The notion that our shared experiences and intimate moments had been reduced to nothing more than a fleeting episode was devastating. I felt like I had been used and discarded, a mere pawn in a game I didn't fully understand. Sleepless nights followed, with my mind racing through every possible scenario, every word exchanged, every touch shared. I questioned whether I had misread the situation, whether I had been too forward or too naive. The uncertainty gnawed at me, leaving me exhausted and emotionally drained. I tried to make sense of what had happened, to find some rational explanation for Alex's behavior, but the answers remained elusive. In the midst of my struggle, I realized that I couldn't force Alex to see things from my perspective, or to value our friendship in the way I did. It was a bitter pill to swallow, but I understood that some relationships are meant to be transient, serving a purpose in our lives before fading away. I began to focus on my other friendships, on the people who genuinely cared for me and who offered support and understanding without reservation. Slowly, I started to find solace in the relationships that had remained steadfast, and I began to rebuild my sense of self-worth. As time passed, the pain of that summer began to fade, replaced by a newfound strength and resilience. I learned valuable lessons about the complexities of relationships, the importance of clear communication, and the need to prioritize my own emotional well-being. The scars of that summer were a reminder of the vulnerability that comes with opening one's heart, but they also became a testament to my growth and ability to move forward. Looking back, I see that holiday as a turning point in my life. It was a painful chapter, but it was also one that shaped me into the person I am today. The experience taught me that not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay, and that's okay. Some people are meant to teach us lessons, and Alex was one of those individuals. The memories of that summer remain with me, a reminder of the lessons learned and the strength gained. Life is a journey, and sometimes the detours lead us to where we need to be. I moved forward from the pain of that summer with a renewed sense of purpose and an openness to new possibilities, knowing that each experience, no matter how painful, contributed to the person I was becoming.